up? We are only one day away from opening day for LSU baseball in 2026, folks. That's right. Tomorrow is opening day. I cannot wait. So we're going to continue our LSU baseball preview by giving some predictions as far as who are going to be the individual leaders in stat categories such as batting average, homers, RBIs, wins, ERA, saves, on base percentage, all of that and so much more as we continue our LSU 2026 baseball preview with opening day tomorrow. Plus, we'll talk a little bit preview LSU women's basketball's huge game Saturday night at 7:30 on ABC in the PMAC hosting number 3 South Carolina. We'll talk about this and so much more on a brand new edition of the Babin on the Bayou show. I'm your host, as always, Justin Babin Jr. Thank you, folks, as always, for tuning in. Hope you're having a great one. It is Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. And, folks, we are one day away. Tomorrow, Friday, February 13th, is opening day for the number 2 team in the country. Number 1 in some polls, number 2 in others. But they're at least top 2 in every poll that has come out, basically. And I cannot wait to see the Tigers go out and chase after their 9th national championship in program history after winning their 8th last season in June of 2025. And look, I just can't wait. And I thought about some fun things we could do today. Again, we're gonna go through some things today, break down the roster a little bit more today. We've covered a lot, right? We've covered a lot. But I thought we could predict some leaders, individual leaders in certain individual stat categories, and that could kind of lead our discussion on the team. We also have one of my favorite categories that we're going to cover today is I'll give you one breakout player, one breakout hitter, and I'll give you one breakout pitcher as well. So definitely stay tuned to that. But let's talk about some leaders in individual stat categories for LSU. Again, I cannot wait for opening day tomorrow, Friday, February 13th at 2 o'clock, LSU versus Milwaukee inside Alex Box Stadium. So batting average. Let's start with batting average. That's an easy one. Look, I think when you talk about a lot of these categories, really batting average and on-base percentage, Derek Curiel is the undisputed favorite. Derek Curiel, as I've said before, the best player on this team. This guy is going to be a first-round draft pick in this year's MLB draft. He is an absolute star, one of the best premier college baseball players in the country. He's a first-team preseason All-American and on it nearly every All-American list. D1 Baseball projects him to be the SEC Player of the Year in 2026. He's going to play center field for you this year. I mean, he was a stud as a freshman. What he was able to do as a freshman was so impressive. I mean, he led the team in batting average, batting .345 in his first year on campus, and he started his college career with like a 30 to 40 game on base streak where he got on base nearly every game for the first half of the season. And look, I think that's just going to continue. He's worked on getting bigger, a little bit bigger, faster, stronger in the offseason, maybe improve some of his power numbers. I believe he hit 7 bombs last year for the Tigers, but he was just, I mean, he's your best player. He's your leader. You have a bunch of veteran leaders on this team between all 3 outfield guys in Curiel, Brown, and Stanfield. Steven Milam back at shortstop as well, Casey Evans. But Derek Curiel is the undisputed best player on this team and the leader of this team. So I think when you talk about batting average, when you talk about a lot of these statistics, Derek Curiel is the front runner. As far as most homers hit, look, I think you have a lot of guys who have power and are going to be able to hit. You know, like I thought about putting Cade Beatty here, the catcher as well, who was the MVP of fall ball according to Jay Johnson. And look, I like Cade Beatty. I like many other guys as well. But look, I think when you look at the homer statistic, when you look at the category, I like Zach York from Grand Canyon. I like Zach York. He's going to be your starting first baseman this season. He was great in 3 seasons playing for Grand Canyon University. Hit 32 bombs, had an average of .328 in 3 seasons at GCU. I love his swing. He's really a complete hitter. He doesn't just hit for power. He hits a ton of line drives as well. He can hit it to the opposite field. He's got a really good, quick, short, compact swing. So Zach York's going to be one of the best all-around hitters on this team, but he definitely can hit for power. He hit 32 bombs in 3 years at GCU. And then another guy I think could come as a surprise in the homers category is High Point University transfer Braden Simpson. And look, Braden Simpson, bottom line, had a monster year at the plate in 2025 when you look at his numbers at High Point. I mean, he had a batting average of 389 last year with 24 doubles, 22 homers, 78 RBIs, 75 runs scored. He absolutely raked last season at High Point. And look, he's been doing well again in fall ball and in preseason scrimmages. We've talked about how I think there's going to be a healthy rotation at the second base position. I think it's going to be the most competitive position coming into the season between Simpson, Seth Dardar, and Tanner Reeves. But I think when you look at it, D1 Baseball in their preseason, top 50 list of the top 50 second basemen in the country, D1 actually ranked Braden Simpson as the 5th best second baseman in the country coming into the 2026 season. So, look, I think there's going to be a healthy rotation here. I think whoever doesn't play second base on any individual day between Dardar, Reeves, and Simpson, most of the time, the guys who don't get that second base position will get some looks at DH a lot throughout the season. But I think when you talk about it, the more people I've been talking to, the more people are like, watch out for Braden Simpson. He could line up and be your best second baseman. Either way, whether he's second base, whether he's DH, whatever, Braden Simpson's going to be in the lineup. Because just look at his numbers last season. Look what he did last year at High Point. Now, yes, it is, SEC caliber pitching, and it is a step up in competition you're facing. I understand that. But when you hit 389 in a full season in college baseball with 24 doubles, 22 homers, and 78 RBIs, I mean, that is just a monster year. And he's a guy who LSU is looking to once again, do the same thing or put up similar numbers, hopefully at LSU. And if he does, I think, again, 22 homers last year. So I like Zach York in the homers department, but I did want to shout out Braden Simpson because he's a guy I keep hearing more and more about coming into the season. As far as your RBIs leader, man, I love watching Jake Brown play baseball. Jake Brown is one of my favorite players on the team. Really, we talked about his veteran experience alongside Curiel, Milam, Stanfield. Yeah, we get that. Jake Brown, he hit 320 last year for LSU. I believe he was your most productive offensive hitter in Omaha last year at the plate during the College World Series. And look, I love Jake Brown. I love watching him play. The question for Jake Brown has always been he's always hit better against right-handed pitchers. He struggled at times in his career at LSU hitting against lefties. I think he's worked on that a lot in the offseason. If he can improve his hitting against left-handed hitters, watch out for Jake Brown because we know he's going to rake absolutely against right-handers because he's done that throughout his college career. But I think during the offseason, he put in a lot of work against lefties, improving in that area. So that is going to be something to look at. And look, really, it depended on whether it was a left-hander on the mound for the other team or right-hander on the mound for the other team. Usually against lefties, Josh Pearson started. Usually against righties, Jake Brown started. But I think this year, Jake Brown's going to be your everyday right fielder. And it's going to be interesting to see if he has indeed improved against left-handed pitchers. I think he's obviously a leader of this team in terms of personality. The players, his teammates rave about him, rave about what type of leader he is. Really kind of a captain of this team, going into his third year at LSU and on the national championship team, a key part of winning that national title last year. So, again, Jake Brown's a guy I love. On base percentage, I said it before, Derek Curiel, of course, because he had great plate discipline last year as a freshman, too, on top of hitting, 345. He just got on base. He drew a lot of walks as well. But I think another guy who has great plate discipline is Stephen Milam. I think Stephen Milam has elite plate discipline. He doesn't strike out. He rarely strikes out. Even last year when he struggled in the regular season hitting wise, it wasn't because he was striking out a ton. He's always had great plate discipline. So I think on base percentage, look, I think as I mentioned before, it's kind of for Stephen Milam and Oregon State transfer Trent Caraway. So really, your shortstop, your third baseman, the left side of your infield for both of those guys, Milam and Caraway. It's can their amazing postseason runs in 2025 carry over into the 2026 season? They both struggled a little bit in the regular season in 2025, but turned it on, had massive postseasons in 2025. But if they can translate that to 26, look out. I think you've got a deep roster. You've got a deep lineup, 1 through 9. All of these guys can hit. And yeah, I'm super excited because you have a ton of depth. My breakout hitter, my breakout offensive player of the year. Who do I think you guys should be paying attention to? And you know, I thought I would go with one of the freshmen. And the freshman that I'm most interested to see, and this is one of the guys I'm excited to see two freshmen this weekend at the plate. You know, got to see them a little bit in scrimmages, but excited to see them at the plate. The guy I'm most looking forward to seeing play is freshman Mason Braun. Mason Braun was the top first baseman, the top ranked first baseman in America coming out of the 2025 high school signing class. And look, Jay Johnson and the staff have raved about his ability, about how the game seems to be slow for him. Even as a freshman, the game doesn't seem too fast for Mason Braun. And that's what you want to hear from your freshmen. I mean, you know, transitioning from high school baseball to college baseball, sometimes that can be an adjustment. So you love hearing in the preseason Jay Johnson say things like, it doesn't seem like the game is too fast right now for Mason Braun. He's slowing the game down, and he'll already be doing that as a freshman before he plays a regular season game or a season game at all. That's impressive. So look, I think Mason Braun is going to get his fair share of opportunities. I also think catcher freshman Omar Cerna Jr. is going to get a fair share of opportunities, at least in the non-conference. You do have a veteran roster. You have guys coming back with plenty of experience. So when you talk about maybe SEC play, I don't know how much Braun and Cerna factor into that, but they're definitely going to factor into this team a bunch over, you know, potentially this season and definitely down the line in years and years to come. But I'm excited to see Mason Braun. You know, he's been mashing the ball in preseason scrimmages. He's got light tower power, one of the most powerful hitters on the team, even as a freshman. And he's going to get his fair share of opportunities. And he is a guy that I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to see Mason Braun at the plate, and also Cerna as well. Those are the two offensive players, position players, the freshmen that I'm looking at is Braun and Cerna Jr. Moving over to the pitching staff for ERA and wins. Obviously, when you talk about hitting, when you talk about position players, Derek Curiel is the face of this team. When you talk about pitching, Kason Evans is the face of this team. He's going to be the Friday night ace, the Friday night guy after a phenomenal season as a freshman for Kason Evans. So he's the obvious choice in a lot of these stat categories as well. But if I had to give maybe another guy besides Kason Evans for wins and ERA, look, Kansas transfer Cooper Moore. He's going to be the Saturday starter for you, at least at the beginning of the season. And he, as far as starting pitching experience, he's the most experienced guy on the roster. I mean, he was the ace at Kansas for the majority of the season last year, through 85-plus innings as a starter at Kansas last season, was a second-team All-Big 12 conference selection. Look, he's the most experienced guy. He's got the most experience in the starting role. Obviously, Kason Evans coming over he got a few starts last year, but mainly Kason Evans was your best reliever out of the bullpen last year and came in clutch situations late in games. But again, when you talk about starting pitching experience, Cooper Moore is the most experienced guy on the team. He's done this before. He's done it in a Power 4 conference. He did it in 85-plus innings for Kansas in the Big 12 last year. Look, it's not overpowering stuff as far as I think his fastball is in the mid to low 90s, so it's not overpowering stuff, but he throws a lot of strikes. He's got a really good pitch mix, and he's been here before. He's done it before, and he's the guy you can say that a lot. So I think Cooper Moore is the guy with the highest floor on this pitching staff. You have so much depth on this pitching staff and guys you're looking at, but I think a guy to pay attention to is Cooper Moore in terms of wins and ERA, because I think he's going to be a starter in this rotation all year long. I really do. I don't see Cooper Moore moving down to the bullpen or any role like that. Moving to the bullpen, as far as saves, I feel like the guys that people were looking at for 1-2 punch out of the bullpen last year, you're obviously looking at Gavin Guidry, who was a key part of winning a national title in 2023, was your closer in 2024. A back injury cost him his 2025 season, but now Gavin Guidry is back. You also have Zach Cowan, who originally I said could have an opportunity to fit in a Sunday starter role. I do think Zach Cowan is going to be in the bullpen last year, because we saw he had a great season. Really, he and Kason Evans were your best relievers last year for your 2025 national championship team. So I think Zach Cowan is going to stay in the bullpen because of his experience and because obviously he's a guy you can trust. I think as far as breakout pitcher, I don't think personally people are talking about Maverick Rizzi enough. I like Maverick Rizzi. I really do. I thought he had a really solid freshman season. I mean, he led the team in overall appearances last year. In most games played and appearances last year on this pitching staff. So obviously, Jay Johnson has a lot of trust in Maverick Rizzi, raves about Maverick Rizzi's stuff. He's a very high velocity guy. He can get up there to 100 miles an hour. He did have his struggles at times last season, but I thought overall, Maverick Rizzi was pretty good, and I'm looking forward to him possibly taking a jump from freshman to sophomore year. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking at. I really like Maverick Rizzi, and he's a guy, similar to Chase Shores in terms of size. I believe Rizzi is 6'9", so he's very, very tall and very, very lanky. And I like Rizzi, and I think if he steps up and be the guy that I think he could be the closer for this team and potentially step into that role. I think the guys you're looking at right now are Guidry and Cowan, but I definitely think Rizzi has all the potential in the world to be a dominant force for you out of the bullpen. Another bullpen arm I got to see right-hander Devin Sheeran pitch in a scrimmage last week. And he throws really, really hard and really, really aggressive. And he looked pretty good to me in the scrimmage action I got him to see last week. So I do like Devin Sheeran as well. Obviously, the freshman that people rave about is freshman right-hander Marcos Paz, that a lot of people like. And I think when you look at it, if Marcos Paz wasn't 18 months post Tommy John surgery, he probably wouldn't be playing in college baseball right now. He probably would already be on a minor league roster because he's got plenty of talent. Really getting him for 3 seasons to pick LSU over, going to the MLB was really huge. A lot of people rave about his potential. Jay Johnson says he could be a future ace on this team for years to come. I think, the fact that he is 18 months post Tommy John surgery means most likely in the months of February and March, so at the beginning of the season, you won't see really extended outings for Paz, more than 1 or 2 innings. You won't see him go like 4 or 5 innings or anything like that. The team wants to be responsible with what they do with him since he's 18 months post Tommy John. But I think Marcos Paz is a guy to look at. And overall, I'm so excited for this season. I think this team is ready to have a great season, be one of the best teams in the country this year. I think they are loaded lineup-wise. They're loaded. They have so much depth on the pitching staff. Yes, I do have a few questions that I've talked about. My big question is, who fills that Sunday starter role behind Kason Evans and Cooper Moore on Friday, Saturday? I think the top 2 guys that I'm looking at, I originally said it was going to be between 4 guys. I think I've narrowed it down to 2. I think left-hander Cooper Williams is going to get a really good opportunity to be a starter early in the season. He pitched 20 innings last year as a freshman for LSU, had a pretty good ERA, a 1.80 ERA as a left-hander. Cooper Williams as a freshman for LSU last year. He's got pretty good stuff, so I think he's going to get an opportunity in this rotation. And then if I had to say, there's a wild card on this team. There is a wild card on this team, and that is William Schmidt. Because William Schmidt has all the talent and all the potential in the world to be a top-end arm, a top-end starter in the SEC. He does have all the potential. But we talked about it last season, even with the stuff that he has, because the stuff that he has is undeniable. He walked 11 batters in just 2 innings of SEC regular season play last year. Like, the command was a struggle. He can get a little bit wild with his command sometimes. And if it's the same way this season, then it's going to be a struggle for him to keep his spot potentially, as a potential starter in the starting rotation. But if his command is better and, like last week in the scrimmage, he strikes out 9 in a row, strikes out 11 batters overall. If his command is better, if he lives up to his potential, he can be a high-end starter for you this season in SEC play. So I think the wild card for me this year is William Schmidt. We just got to see. We got to see what he does. Now, obviously, he didn't have the worst freshman year in the world. He went 7-0. He made 6 starts, and it was pretty good in his midweek starts. But again, the question for him is, can he throw strikes? Can he have command? If he can be a difference maker, absolutely, on the team this year. But again, and also second base, which I've talked about, which a lot of people, the more people I talk to, the more people think Braden Simpson is an option here as well. And I absolutely do too. And maybe you could favor Simpson right now. Again, I think it's between him, Seth Dardar, and Tanner Reeves. But again, you're going to want to look at every day in the lineup who's at DH and who's at second base. Those are the positions you'll see the most rotation and the most fluctuation coming into the season. And then, you have experience. You have returning some top guys, some key guys from your 2025 national title team, your entire outfield, your shortstop, your best pitcher last year, one of your best pitchers last year, your best reliever last year in Casey Evans, also Zach Cowan. It's going to be interesting to see. I'll be excited to see what your transfer talent, like guys like Zach York, Trent Carraway, Seth Dardar, Braden Simpson, what they do in their first weekend in Alex Box Stadium. And then, I'm super excited for the season. I think the thing is you have guys like Milam and like your outfield who were here last year. And the team last year faced adversity. And I'm willing to say this. I think you might have overachieved with your team in 2025 as far as winning a national championship. Because in 2023 with Tommy White, Paul Skeens, and Dylan Cruz, it always felt like that team was destined to win a national title with all that talent. It didn't always feel that way in 2025. It did not always feel that way. Yes, you lost early in the season last year in a game against Omaha University. You got swept on the road by Auburn last year. You struggled on the road at Texas A&M last year, at Texas last year. You had struggles last year, but you were able, like Stephen Milam was a revelation in the postseason for you in 2025, and you were led by one of the best 1-2 starting pitching duos I've ever seen at Louisiana State University in Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson. So the point of me saying all this is you have leaders, you have high-character guys, and you have guys who have been here and done that. They faced adversity, and they know how to handle the 56-game grind of a college baseball season. So I'm so excited again. Opening day tomorrow. I can't wait for it, folks. It's going to be so awesome. And I'm just so ready and so hyped. I'm pumped to watch this team play. Let me take the time to tell you about our wonderful daily sponsors here at the Babin on the Bayou show and the team over at Shield Heating and Cooling, a team of experts with multiple decades of experience as experts in the AC industry. And out of my gratitude for you guys and my love for you guys for always faithfully tuning in to the show, if you call, I want to reward you guys. I want to give something away. So if you call the best team in the business at Shield Heating and Cooling today at the number 225-46-BAYOU, Bayou, Bayou. You tell the team at Shield Heating and Cooling you heard about them from the Babin on the Bayou show, and I'll be giving away free AC system cleaning checks for every AC system in your home, whether it's one AC system in your home or 4 or 5 AC systems in your home. It doesn't really matter. Call the best team in the business today. They're trustworthy. They're reliable. They're the best in the business today. The team over at Shield Heating and Cooling. Call them at that number 225-46-BAYOU, BAYOU, to take a part in this amazing giveaway as a sign of my gratitude towards you guys for always tuning into the show. Free AC system cleaning checks for every AC system in your home if you call the best team in the business today at 225-46-BAYOU, BAYOU. Again, that's Shield Heating and Cooling, your local comfort defenders. And we greatly appreciate them for being the title sponsors of the Babin on the Bayou show. Alright, a little bit of LSU football news for some former Tigers. Now, we haven't covered LSU football a lot this week, not because I don't want to, or I love LSU football. Y'all know that by now. We covered it all throughout the month of January. It's been a little bit of a dead period, a little bit quiet as far as football news lately, and we're kind of turning to mainly a baseball show right now. Like, let's be honest about that. But 11 former LSU Tigers have been invited to the NFL Draft Scouting Combine. So the NFL Scouting Combine is from February 23rd to March 2nd in the city of Indianapolis. And the Tigers, former Tigers who have been invited to the Combine include Garrett Nussmeier, Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Chris Hilton, Barrion Brown, Bauer Sharp, Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Harold Perkins, Mansour Delane, and A.J. Halsey. Again, it's headlined by Garrett Nussmeier and Mansour Delane. It looks like Mansour Delane is going to be a bona fide, definite first-round draft pick this year. I think he'll be the 54th first-round draft pick ever for LSU football. And so, yeah, congrats to those Tigers for getting invited to the NFL Draft Scouting Combine. Again, that's February 23rd through March 2nd in Indianapolis. I believe most of the Scouting Combine is going to be televised on the NFL Network, so it'll be interesting to see what these former Tigers do there. Look, excited for football season. Obviously, we gotta get into our baseball coverage, cover baseball stuff, but we will keep having and covering football and do some segments on that throughout the week. But again, it's been a little bit slow as far as news on the LSU football front lately. It's kind of a dead period right now. Obviously, you know, with spring practices starting in March/April, that's going to be a big deal. We'll cover spring football a lot and all of that because you have so much talent that is, you brought in 40-plus transfers. And then, so the first thing to pay attention to there is going to be spring football. So we'll definitely have some more football coverage coming your way in the coming weeks. Excuse me. But I thought we would close the show by doing a little bit of LSU women's basketball preview for a huge game. Saturday night on ABC at 7:30, Saturday night, LSU hosting in the PMAC, the number 3 team in the country, and the South Carolina Gamecocks. It is a huge game for the Tigers. The PMAC sold out. There's not going to be an empty seat in the PMAC on Saturday night. Again, a top 10 matchup. A huge game. And we obviously know for this LSU women's basketball team that it's led by 4 players. Your leaders are Michaela Williams, Malaysia Fulwiley, Flau'jae Johnson, and Jada Richard. Those are your 4 leaders of this team. But you also have a lot of depth behind them as well. One of the deepest rosters in America. One of the most highly producing benches in America as well. You also have Grace Knox, Kate Koval, Amaya Joyner, Zakiya Johnson has been doing really well lately, playing great lately, has been Zakiya Johnson. Recently, though, Flau'jae Johnson, Malaysia Fulwiley, and Michaela Williams have all been recently named to the late mid-season Wooden Award watch list. The Wooden Award is awarded to the best women's college basketball player in America for the season. So all of these players between Michaela Williams, Flau'jae Johnson, and Malaysia Fulwiley, all 3 of those players were named on the top 20 late midseason Wooden Award watch list. LSU is the only school that has 3 players on the top 20 list. Look, the Tigers are still averaging over 96 points a game, so arguably the best offensive team in the country in terms of statistics. However, when we preview and think about the South Carolina game, we can think about it in the lens of the top 10 matchup that you had a week ago on the road in Austin against Texas. And really, that was probably your worst offensive performance of the night. You had your guards, two of your star players, Jada Richard and Flau'jae Johnson, combined to only shoot 4 of 24 from the field. LSU turned the ball over 18 times, and that led to a double-digit loss on the road in Austin, Texas. You compare that to earlier in the season, a month before in mid to early January, where Texas actually came to the PMAC to Baton Rouge, and you beat them on the back of an absolute star performance by Michaela Williams. I mean, great defense against Madison Booker, and then it was like she couldn't be stopped in that game on the offensive side of the court as well. But again, you saw that if your backcourt doesn't produce, if your guards don't produce, if your 4 players don't produce, 4 players that we're looking at in Malaysia, Michaela, Flau'jae, and Jada, if those women don't produce, you're going to have a struggle to be the top 10 team. And they all have to produce Saturday night against South Carolina to come home with the win. Look, South Carolina is the elite of the elite in women's college basketball. They have been the standard in the SEC women's basketball. When you look at it, the Gamecocks are led this year by forward Joyce Edwards, who is averaging 20 points per game, and guard Tanaya Latson, who is averaging 15 points per game. So both Joyce Edwards and Tanaya Latson also are on the late mid-season Wooden Award top 20 watch list. So watch out for top 2 players on that team, Joyce Edwards and Tanaya Latson, the players that you're going to look out for, especially Joyce Edwards, averaging 20 points a game, which is elite numbers. Look, South Carolina and Don Staley, Kim Mulkey has said it. They are the standard in women's basketball. They are the standard in SEC basketball. They have won 2 of the last 4 national championships in women's basketball when you look at it. And Kim Mulkey has yet to beat South Carolina during her time as the head coach at LSU. She has not beaten South Carolina yet. I believe they've played each other 3 times while Mulkey has been here. Look, it's no coincidence. Women's basketball is usually played on Thursdays and Sundays on the SEC, on ESPN network. It's usually played on Thursdays and Sundays, and Saturdays is usually saved for the top games in men's basketball. But they had a choice to put a women's game on Saturday night on ABC in primetime on national television, and they chose this game. They chose South Carolina at LSU. They chose to bring College Game Day here. It tells you what an elite matchup that this is going to be Saturday night between arguably the 2 best coaches in the country when you look at it. I mean, Dawn Staley has won 3 national titles in her coaching career. Kim Mulkey has won 4 national titles in her coaching career when you look at it. I mean, it is the elite of the elite. It is a phenomenal matchup that we're going to witness this Saturday night at 7:30 on ABC in the PMAC. I mean, Dawn Staley, now, again, this only 3 of these games, the last 3 of these games have been against Kim Mulkey, but Dawn Staley in her career has won 17 straight games against LSU. So she's beaten LSU 17 straight times. Now, only the last 3 of those are against Kim Mulkey, and so that is of note. But Dawn Staley has really had LSU's number. She's had Kim Mulkey's number in Kim Mulkey's first couple of years at LSU. For the Tigers to finally knock South Carolina off and beat a top 3 team in the country, it's an overall team effort. It's an overall team effort. Everybody has to be on point. And we've seen that. We've seen many games this year where 4 or 5 LSU players have all scored in the double figures. You're going to need to see that again. It's going to be a team effort. It's not just going to be Michaela Williams. It's going to be all 4 between Jada, Flau'jae, Michaela, and Malaysia. It's going to take Kate Koval and Grace Knox being active on the boards again. It's going to take Zakiya Johnson continuing to excel like she's been one of the best players on the court lately for you. Zakiya Johnson has played really well lately. Amaya Joyner, who is, has I think like 48 double-doubles in her career as a women's college basketball player. So it's going to take everybody because, again, South Carolina is the elite of the elite. They set the standard in the SEC. They set the standard nationally for women's college basketball. But I cannot wait for this game. I can't wait for this weekend. Again, the thing is, folks, is you have opening day college baseball. You have Monday through. Let me set the schedule for you. 3 games against Milwaukee for LSU men's baseball. So you have Friday, first pitch is at 2, and then on both Saturday and Sunday, first pitch is at 1. So early afternoon, first pitch, Friday through Sunday against the University of Milwaukee. Now, Monday also is LSU baseball also plays a game Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. first pitch against Kent State. So that is another one. So they play Friday through Monday, 3 games over the weekend against Milwaukee, 1 game against Kent State. Again, that's 2, 1, 1, and 3 is those start times for opening weekend for baseball. And then just a huge game, humongous game for LSU women's basketball Saturday night. Again, tip-off is at 7:30 on ABC. But a top 10 matchup against the number 3 team in the country, the South Carolina Gamecocks. Just a huge weekend, and it's one where Baton Rouge is going to be popping this weekend with everything going on. I think women's gymnastics is Women's gymnastics is, on the floor tonight in Baton Rouge, so you'll have thousands of people, or Friday night, excuse me. They'll be playing Friday night as well, so you'll have thousands of people there as well. So it's just an exciting weekend in Baton Rouge for LSU athletics, and I can't wait for it. Reminder for you guys, so tomorrow, again, the show comes out tomorrow, not at 5 p.m., at 1 p.m., officially 1 hour before first pitch for opening day for LSU baseball. We're going to do a little bit of an LSU baseball opening day pregame show. We'll do that. And then, man, we're going to have to figure this out a little bit. I'll update y'all on social media. I think looking at the schedule, you got a lot of early to late afternoon games in the preseason non-conference. And also looking at the schedule, Monday, you have a game at 3 against Kent State. So, again, a show at 5 p.m. is not going to work. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a show comes out at 1 tomorrow on Friday, and then we're going to do the same thing on Monday. A show will come out at 1 on Monday, recapping the weekend and preparing you for LSU's 4th game of the season, Monday afternoon against Kent State. So I know that's a little bit of a change. We would prefer to have every show come out at 5 p.m., I think, every day, because I think that's most advantageous for people getting off of work. I understand 1 p.m. might not be the best time in the world, but I'm not gonna come out with a show in the middle of LSU baseball. I'm just not gonna do that. So again, schedule change. Both Friday, so tomorrow, and Monday, so the first show of next week. Both of those days we will have shows coming out at 1 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. That is my update as far as the schedule. I know it's a little bit different. Hopefully we'll get back to eventually coming out with shows at 5 p.m. But again, schedule change. 1 p.m. the show comes out on both Friday, tomorrow, and Monday, and preview for LSU men's baseball, kind of avoiding, schedule conflicts with that. But I thank you folks, as always, for tuning into the show. Remember to like the video, share the video, share with a friend, tell a friend about the show. If they love LSU athletics, if they love sports in general, tell a friend about the show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already. Thank you, folks, as always, for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. And remember, as always, God bless, go Tigers, and have a great one.